Right. Okay. Great. Okay. So yesterday we, spoke about essay types, and we looked at command words, and we looked at how to make sense of essay titles, essay questions, and how to make sense of them, and what parts are important, and so on. And again, we're doing it, using English lit papers and examples, just because it's useful to do so. And it's for Riot especially, it's really good because you're going on to doing the IB soon, and that's directly beneficial to you. But for Matilda as well, it's great practice. Definitely, using past papers from English, and mainly from English because you don't need as many tools. Like if you've got a solid knowledge of literary techniques and so on, you can go ahead and do it. Meanwhile, while with history, it's a little bit different because you need to have, historical knowledge in order to answer questions, and it depends on the region in the world and so on. So it's just much easier, and those sorts of skills that you acquire in, dealing with English lit past papers, or practicing with such resources is definitely useful, because these are transferable skills, right? You can use them in a host of other subjects and a host of other contexts as well. So just again, quick recap. Yeah, essay planning, the components of, that's new. So yeah, essay planning questions and so on. Essay writing questions and so on. So today we're looking at the planning process, and that's really, really important. It's a really important part of the process to writing an essay. So we're ready to discuss, the importance of the question, making sense of the question. Now, another thing, and that's sort of the thread, and this you're going to face this and use this and experience this your entire academic career and even beyond. And that is an argument. And remember yesterday when we introduced what an essay is, you guys talked about how it's really about, putting your thoughts together, arranging them in a way to convey something that you're trying to convince the reader of. And that something is your argument, right? And it's really important. And you can, in other settings, you would have it called thesis, right? So the central thesis is also, it's another way of just saying argument, right? And you build your essay around your core argument. Everything points to that, basically. So you organize it, you structure it in response to maybe a question, but to convey, an argument, and convince the reader that what you're saying is founded. It's something worth believing. It's something worth, taking into account. It's something worth considering. And you do that once you've read the question, you've read texts, or, in the case of what you're going to do for your homework, we're going to do a part of it together, is a poem, and you're going to have prompts in the form of questions, and you're going to have to pick one and plan around it. But you start with, okay, what is it that I'm trying to say? What's the main takeaway that I want the reader to get from my, from my argument, from my essay? And that's the argument. And you do that, you basically bring the flesh around your argument by using evidence. And evidence, we'll get to that in a minute, in terms of kind of looking into what is evidence, right? But you think about how your argument is going to play out in your introduction, your body, and your conclusion. And we're going to explore how you write introductions, how you write, the body of your essay, and how you write a conclusion. Now, you will have probably already experienced the fact that introductions and conclusions are very hard to write. Thinking about what you're going to say in the body, like the points and so on, are it can be quite straightforward. But writing introductions is always this thing of like, but what do I put in there? And writing conclusions, like, but how do I wrap things up without just being repetitive, right? So it's always a bit of a challenge. But the introduction, and again, we'll discuss this in greater depth in a few slides, is really where you present what your argument is going to be, right? You you just sort of, this is it that I'm going to be presenting to you. And the introduction also gives the sort of an overview of the structure of your essay. So it's a very important paragraph, but it's usually quite difficult to write. So moving on, what comes to mind to you guys when you're thinking evidence? Because it would be different things in various fields. So what comes to mind when you hear evidence? Ryota, what comes to mind?
Like evidence is from article or like some books, or like it's not your like what you're thinking. It's like fact.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. That's exactly that. How about you, Mathilde? Do you want to contribute anything?
Yes, I thought about the same things. Actually.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So evidence is literally what you use, and you said it so well that it's not your opinion, right? It's the facts that you draw upon to justify something that you're saying, right? So we know that in mathematics, for instance, you'll have proofs, identities, laws,